church, as Jesus mentioned in Matthew chapter 19. It is His church. He said, upon this rock I will build my church. So the choice of Simon Peter was his own choice, and that he entrusted this church to him because of his faith, because on the basis of his faith, entails that the church is really what Jesus wanted to found. And secondly, he also told Simon Peter what his historic mission is, when he told him once, strengthen the faith of your brothers and sisters. And thirdly, Jesus also told the community that he will be with them till the end of time. Then he also mentioned that the church will be a little flock. He told them very often, fear not, little flock. So this is the reality of the church which we have down the centuries up to our own times, with the continuing, ongoing succession of successors of St. Peter guiding the church. So today we have Pope Francis as our leader and our guide and the visible head of the church. So it is all but correct that we defend him and we stand with him in spite of his human weaknesses. Anybody is weak. All of us are weak. In fact, Simon Peter himself was weak. He denied Jesus 3 times. And he was very ambitious. He was a person who was very phlegmatic. If you see in the way in which his personality is shown, certainly he was a weak human being. But Jesus chose him. And so it is something that is historic, and always I believe that God gives us the successor of Peter that is most suitable for the time in which he is given. And by circumstances that we cannot explain always, God has given us Pope Francis as the head of this church. Is he a completely perfect man with 100% holiness and no failures, no weaknesses? He himself says very often that he is a sinner. All of us are sinners. So we cannot sort of let him down. We must help him with our prayer so that the Lord will guide him and strengthen him and help him to carry out his mission as faithfully as he could. Then we must also help him in whatever way we can, and sometimes we may have to also speak to him on certain issues privately without making that a matter of the media, because you cannot control the media anymore. And so an open conflict with the Pope should always be avoided. I'm not saying that he cannot make mistakes. Of course, it's true that he may take certain positions or may make certain statements, but all the statements that a Pope makes is not infallible statements. So we have to understand the value of those statements in the context in which they have been said. But I find that His Holiness makes some very, very pertinent statements to us in today's world, very especially to us who are members of the hierarchy. He chides us sometimes. He tells us not to be airport bishops, to concentrate on the periphery, to look after the needs of our people, to be sensitive to their feelings and so on, and to be merciful, and all these things are mentioned by him, which is a very good thing, which is something that the modern world does not think is something very important, those aspects of which he speaks. It's true that he may make a statement here, make a statement there, which may not be in line with the thinking of some people or all the people. But still we have to understand that this is a spiritual reality. The church is a spiritual reality. It is one. So we must preserve the unity of the church somehow. And he also prayed, Jesus prayed for that unity when he said, Lord, keep them one, just as you and I are one. So that's an intimate relationship that Jesus shared with the Father. And he wants us to be like that, to be united. So I think it's important that we support him, help him, and even seek to guide him in a positive sense, helping him to realize his difficult mission. Today the world is, especially the European world, is very religion skeptic and secular. It's driven by all kinds of philosophies and forces that the church cannot control anymore. So this is the reality in which the Holy Father is trying to fulfill his mission, which is not easy. It's true that when he makes some statements, some of them may not be in line with what we have been traditionally thinking, but we must give value to whatever he says in the context of the modern day challenges, the difficulties that the church is facing, and also in line also with the teaching of Jesus Christ and the spirit of Jesus Christ, which he always showed in his pastoral mission. That is very important. So I would be very much happy if we keep our unity intact. There are some sections in Amoris Laetitia which have created a little bit of displeasure among certain people, and also questions. I am sure the Holy Father is trying to face a challenge that he has in today's world with this big problem affecting basically the European church and the Western church, where a lot of people who have divorced as a result of a crisis of marriage in society and have remarried, and they are asking for the possibility to receive Holy Communion. Marriage continues to be indissoluble. That is what Jesus said. And the ethics of Jesus Christ is very strict. Even though he was a very compassionate man, a very compassionate God, who loved the sinner, who went looking for the sinner, he was very tough in his ethical and religious principles. Like the saying, if somebody beats you on the right cheek, turn the left also. It's not something at all easy. It's very difficult. So he had also very strict rules on family life, marriage, love. He even said that when you look at a woman with lustful eyes, you are committing adultery, which is a very hard position for today's world with so much of sexual promiscuity going around. And he also mentioned that marriage is indissoluble when he said what God has put together, let no man put asunder. He was very strict on that. And so this is something that we have to preserve. And but that doesn't mean that there cannot be certain questions on which the Holy Father can express views that may open a dialogue and a discussion in order to ascertain what is the procedure or what steps we can take. It's a provocation in order to make us think and reflect about a really strong pastoral problem. It is not something that is easy to do in the light of the teaching of Jesus Christ, to give a signal to the world that the Catholic Church has abandoned its position on the indissolubility of marriage, the sacramentality of marriage. In fact, the Holy Father in Amoris Laetitia number 72 speaks and presents marriage, sacramentality of marriage in a beautiful fashion. When I go around speaking to couples, I always quote him in that. So you can't say that Amoris Laetitia everything is not good. Neither can you say that everything is perfect. All these papal documents down the centuries, some of these things, they come, they go into history. Some items are picked up and followed up, others are not picked up and followed. So that process will be there always. So we must not over-dramatize it, and especially in the light of the fact that media is savvy and hungry about something to hang on to and make use of in order to arouse curiosity and interest in the matter and maybe economic gain from that. In spite of that, we should not let this situation drag into a kind of a division in the church. It's not what we are expected to do. So I think there we have to be more realistic and give the document and whatever he says there its own value. And necessarily all these things have to be understood in the light of the teaching of Jesus Christ and in the light of the tradition of the church, which teaches very strongly about the indissolubility of marriage and about various cases of annulments and other things. The documents of the church pinpoint what those cases are, and we can find out various strategies to face this challenge without having to whittle down the basic doctrine of the church on the indissolubility of marriage. That's what we should do. Instead of creating rousing up a honestness and falling into a trap of the modern world to divide us. You have those statements of the Holy Father which are made ex cathedra, documents, decrees that are made ex cathedra, then those are really to be taken up and followed. But there are also other levels of documentation, like for example you have synodal documents and you have council documents which are also of a certain value. Then you have the apostolic exhortations. Then come encyclical letters, sermons, talks, various things that the Holy Father gives. But not all of them have the same value. In the church there is a hierarchy of values for these documents and these statements. So we should not over-dramatize it. While we remain strongly loyal to the Holy Father, we can open up a discussion, and there's nothing wrong in opening up a discussion and a study. And then you must also know that many years ago, Pope Paul VI, when the question of contraception was taken up, appointed a commission. And the Holy Father, Pope Paul VI, took the position of the minority in the commission because he felt that is his charism. And he made that statement, which became a kind of an ex cathedra of value, which is very important after having considered all these factors. I decree or I say this and so on, and there was something more solemn there, which did not accept contraception. So the Holy Father can study it, can sit, and can also make a ex cathedra statement. But we presume that the Holy Father will not make ex cathedra statements like the daily statements he makes. But these will be very carefully studied, seriously taken up, and then the pros and cons evaluated, and very, very, how do you say, that he will be very careful and stringent on this matter, because it's a matter of tackling something which had been in the teaching tradition of the church for many centuries. Yes, I think the Pope should do that. I mean, in the sense that we are not condemning the Pope or anything for what he said. He is expressing a pastoral problem that he is facing, and some of the bishops in the church are facing a real pastoral problem. So then let us take a solution, study, and let the Holy Father give a solution which is not a solution that will compromise on the essential principles of Catholic morality and Catholic Catholic teaching on marriage, which is very important, because the Holy Father in number 72 in Amoris Laetitia says that it is that marriage is a sacrament. It is for the salvation and for the sanctification of the couple. Thus it becomes a sacrament. And that they have to follow the example of Christ on the cross. And he mentions that therefore discernment to get married is a vocational discernment, a religious discernment, he says. So it's a very beautiful presentation according to me, very rich. So we hope that the Holy Father will be strongly in favor of a position which reflects that nobility of the sacrament of marriage.